My name's Sam Swanell. I'm the Managing Director and Group CEO of Pointsbet. Thanks very much for everyone that's listening to this presentation today. Pointsbet is a Australian-based wagering company. We have operations in both Australia and Canada. We're at an interesting time in the history of the company. We have previously also been operating in the US market, but we're in the process of selling that US business, and I'll talk to that a little bit later. So Pointsbet, we are a growth company. You can see the profile there of our combined Australian and Canadian businesses. We were founded back in about 2018. The initial business was just our Australian operations, and our Canadian operations joined in. And started contributing revenue to this table in early 2022. So financial year 2023 was the first full year of our Canadian operations. You can see the trajectory that we've been on. We've provided some guidance to the market around what we expect to see in FY24, and that is revenue growth of circa 10 to 20%. Importantly, we also have provided guidance to the market that when we complete the sale of our US business, which is scheduled for around March next year, we expect the business to come out run rating at EBITDA break even, moving into EBITDA positivity in FY25. So, we see ourselves as a really interesting company that is generating strong revenue growth within a profitable landscape. So that's the aim for the company over the next 6 months, is just to complete the sale of our US business, deliver on the revenue growth of Australia and Canada, and move the group into a positive EBITDA environment for the first time in its history. We've just reported our quarterly 4C numbers, which is a cash flow required statement. But these are the revenue numbers that we've reported to the market for the September quarter. This is a combined Australian and Canadian view. So the really important line is the bottom line. So we've grown total net win. Total net win is basically revenue. In Australia, you need to withdraw the GST from that number. But we've grown that number very strongly, 18% on the PCP. So compared to September 2022, we've had a really good quarter and grown net win by 18%. You can see there that we split our net win or our revenue into two parts: sports betting and iGaming. And this is a really important distinction. In Australia, we have a very different market to what exists in Canada. Australia is a more mature market, very big on racing betting and sports betting. The Canadian market is in its infancy. It's going to provide the opportunity for really strong growth. But over in North America, they do have iGaming or online casino. So people are able to play, blackjack and slots and roulette, etc., on their phones. We also have what we call live betting. And so in Australia, once a event has started, an AFL game or an NRL game or an NBA game, you cannot bet on your mobile phone online once the game has started. In most other parts in the world, you can, and it's a very popular way of betting. You can imagine that a lot of people like to have a bet once the game has started and they're seeing what's going on in that game. And a lot of what we have invested in as a company is around that live betting capability and around that online casino capability, which is very important in markets outside of Australia. So Australia is our base. It's the largest part of our business as it stands at the moment. But our Canadian business is very important as we want to deliver growth as a company. So the highlights from the first quarter: Australia was up 11%, Canada was up 212%, obviously off a more early stage base. I said that FY23 was the first full year of operations in Canada. FY24 is the second year. What we invest in is our technology and our product. And that product is the product in the hands of the consumer who's having a bet, but it's also on the back end in the ability for us to execute our business plan with surgical precision. And one of the areas that we've made great improvement in the last 12 months is our ability to distribute generosity or promotions to our clients as efficiently as possible. So you'll see on the Australian side there, it talks about the fact that promotions as a percentage of our gross win have reduced over time. And that basically just means that we're getting more efficient in the way that we hand out promotions while still delivering the same benefit from those promotions or generosity. Really interesting. This is a trend in both of our markets. we've found great efficiency from a marketing perspective. Again, how? Well, we've got better. We've found more efficient marketing channels, more efficient marketing execution. So our Australian result, whereby we delivered an 11% growth for the September quarter on the PCP, was delivered while delivering a 41% decrease in saving. So a really real strong progress there in terms of the efficiency of the way we generate our revenue. Similarly, in Canada, we found some savings in Canada as well. It was about a 7% decrease in marketing, and still delivering strong growth in that earlier stage market. You can see there, we talk about in-play betting representing 68% of our sports handle. That basically means in-play betting is what I was talking about when I was talking about live betting before, the matches in play. 68% of all of our bets over in Canada happen once the match has already started. And again, this is our strength of our business, which I'll talk to shortly. And as I mentioned at the outset, we are in the process of actually selling our US business. We sold that business to a group called Fanatics Betting and Gaming. There's a process whereby we need to get approval from regulators in the US to complete that sale, and we expect that sale will happen in the March quarter next year. Effectively, what we've done is the proceeds from selling that US business and some excess cash on the balance sheet, now that we're no longer investing in that US opportunity, is being returned to shareholders. So we've had $1 per share that we returned to shareholders in September, and we have another distribution to come once we close the transaction in around March or April, and we've discussed that will be announced that will be 39 to 44 cents per share. So there is some noise in our share price at the moment. If our share price, as an example, is 75 to 80 cents, included in that is an expected distribution of between 39 cents and 44 cents, which will go out in around March or April next year. So as our business has become more predictable, certainly in Australia, where we've been operating for a number of years now, and we have been EBITDA positive in Australia pretty much, I think, for the last four years. The group, once included of the investment we're making in Canada, is currently loss-making for FY24. But as mentioned earlier, and as set out in this slide, we anticipate moving into group EBITDA positivity in FY25. So we've provided some guidance to the market on what that will look like. So the starting point is our net win rising by 10 to 20%. We've given some guidance around gross profit margins being stable at around 50%. We've talked about finding efficiencies in our marketing, which I spoke to earlier, of say 15 to 20%. We've given some guidance around our OPEX, and that provides a pathway to how we plan to deliver EBITDA positivity in FY25, beginning with around April next year, the April, May, June quarter. We think that will come out of the sale of the US business, run rating about break even, and then moving into positivity. Spoken about live betting or in-play betting, and this is a key part of our right to win, not just in Canada. It's also important for Australia, but live betting in Australia is done via the telephone, calling up and making a call. So it does diminish the appeal of the product compared to the Canadian market and global markets more broadly. So as we entered the North American market, and before we sold our US business, we were live in 14 states of America plus Canada. And the big sports in America, as everyone would probably understand, are NFL, NBA, basketball, college basketball, baseball, soccer, ice hockey. And we have this part of our business called Odds Factory. And I think it's probably not hard to understand that being a bookmaker pre-match is a lot simpler than being a bookmaker once a game has started. And the example I would give is, if we're betting on a basketball game, the NBA season's about to kick off. If we're betting on a basketball game all the way through to the tip-off, not much changes unless a player gets injured or something else dramatic happens. You put up the odds adjust. You've got time to make decisions. Punters have got time to assess the odds on all the different bet types, and we have more bet types on NBA and NFL than most bookmakers in the world. That's one thing. But once a match goes live and you've got players scoring, you've got players being fouled, you've got, how quickly is the game developing, then being a bookmaker and setting the odds for all of the things that we bet on, every player, all the player props, results, total points, outcomes of games, or there's hundreds of bet types. And when you're offering those bet types live, I think everyone can understand that the complexity around that becomes far greater. And the way we do that is basically we consume data feeds on all of these sports of what's going on in these live matches. So we're consuming data feeds constantly from around the world. We're digesting those data feeds, and by that we're running our models about this is what the data is telling us about what's happening in the match, and we run our models, billions of simulations, which basically says what happens next. And we have markets, for example, in baseball, we have markets that says, what happens next in terms of the batter up at the base. What are they going to do? Will they score a home run? Will there be a strike? Will they make it to first base? In the NFL, we have what happens next markets. In the NBA, we have not what happens next markets. So we're basically predicting what's going to happen in the game, and we're putting odds up on our website for people to bet on. That's the whole point. We put up the odds, and they assess whether those odds look attractive, and they back their opinion. So the complexity around offering live betting or in-play betting on sports around the world is where the technology, the models, the trading expertise of bookmakers or sports books such as Pointsbet really come to the fore. And one of the things that we're really proud of, although ultimately we ended up selling our US business, that was more, I suppose, a decision around brand. The Pointsbet brand wasn't a known brand in the US market, up against some massive brands with some really big balance sheet and some spending. Our product in the hands of the consumer for the last 5 or 6 quarters has been ranked top 3 in the US market from a field of about 60 online bookmakers that operate in the US market. And so our product, where we've focused our efforts and our right to win, is really rated as world-class. And that's why we continue to grow market share in Australia and Ontario. And in Ontario, Canada in particular, we're really excited about the focus that we can bring from our product and technology capability to the early stage Canadian market. There's factors in the Canadian market that make it really attractive from a margins perspective. It has a very acceptable tax rate. It has the iGaming product that I spoke about, or online casino product, as I spoke about further. And we're really proving that we can compete in that market, which is fantastic. So we are a technology-led company. We believe that we have a capability in the way that we've built our platform that allows us to innovate very efficiently and to out-innovate the marketplace, to do more with less. And that's what is driving our growth in the slightly more mature Australian market and the really early stage Canadian market. So we believe we've got great momentum this year. We're already a tier 1 product in both markets. In Australia, we're on our way to, we're about a 5% market share in Australia, and we're growing from that, and we believe we can secure a top 4 position. The party above us in Australia is probably about a 6% market share player, or 5 or 5.5, and we think we're on our way to surpassing them. We're very experienced in highly regulated markets, and that shouldn't be underestimated in terms of the value that is placed on companies like Pointsbet that have operated in North America, Australia, highly regulated markets. We are not a grey market operator. Everywhere we go, we're fully compliant, and that takes effort and cost, and we're very proud of our record there, and it does create value inside the company. Our Canadian business is obviously early stage. That's where the hyper growth is going to come from. That market will continue to expand, and we'll continue to grow with that market. And we do think of our technology as value in its own right. Our Australian business has value, our Canadian business has value, and what we've built from a technology perspective clearly has value. We've invested a lot of money in our technology as we pursued our American, Canadian, and Australian markets. We've got top line growth. We're reducing our costs. We're well on the way to that profitability that I've spoken about. And really importantly, in the current environment, we've got ample capital. As at the end of September, we have $83 million Australian in the bank, 83.5, I think it is. We do have some cash flow to occur, whereby the proceeds of the remaining proceeds of the sale of our US business will come in. We will pay out that 39 to 44 cents per share to shareholders. But in the current environment, we will be well capitalized to pursue the growth aspirations of the company. Thank you.